help you out here real quick and make fun of you this first time. Found your assigned seat. Hopefully most of you did that. There's a few of you. Those who I didn't have their name, I will be probably, there's nobody's name on either one of those two desks, right? As far as orange 4 goes. I'll tell you what, I'll just leave the two of you there. It's not too bad. So write your name in orange 4 on those two desks. Take the papers from each pile. Some look the same. Should have 2 that look the same that start with name. Start filling those out. If, listen carefully, Isaac, this wouldn't be you, would it? You can follow directions, can't you? If you don't have 2 papers that look the same on the front but different on the back, the ones that start with names, walk back up there and get the other pile real quick. I won't yell at you. So if you don't have, you should have 5 different sets of papers. If you don't have all 5, walk back up there and get the other one. Make sure you get the one. If you're missing one of them's got something on the back, the other one doesn't. They look the same on the front. Okay, you got your books. The other thing with your books, please make sure you can now finish these 2 papers. Put your book number on both of them. The one that has nothing on the back, once you have your book number on it, I want you to pass them to your left. Once they get over here in this row, Trevor will come up this row and collect them all. So pass them to your left once you have your book number on there. Please make sure you pass in the one that has nothing on the back. Nothing on the back. The next thing, the scavenger hunt. You're going to start to work on the scavenger hunt. I'll give you a few minutes to go through and do it. On the scavenger hunt, don't put a whole lot of thought and effort into it. It's not made to be that difficult. All right? On the scavenger hunt, when they ask you something, don't write a paragraph. No more 6, 7 words at the very most. All right? Just lay them on the desk up there. Thank you, Trevor. The purpose of the scavenger hunt, number 1, is to get you familiar with your book. Number 2 is so that you can check through your book. So even though the scavenger hunt only deals with the first part of the book, once you're done with the scavenger hunt, flip through the book and make sure there's no major problems with your book. So maybe get back to page 400 or something, and somebody stuck a piece of gum in it and shut it and turned it into me last year. Make sure of that. All right? Now, as far as writing goes, these are math books and they're very old. There's going to be some writing on the pages. So don't bother to tell me, hey, somebody wrote on page 50. Hey, somebody wrote on page 51. If they took a marker and blacked it all out, tell me that, but not just basic writing. All right? So start working on that. I will go over the rules and stuff here. Trying to get my recorder to work right, so I'm using you guys as guinea pigs to record this. The page that you did not hand in that looks like this one. You continue to work and just look up here every now and then. I'm not going to yell at Miss Rose for not paying attention to me or anything right now because I know I'm trying to double up on some stuff. And you probably won't mind doubling up because, Caleb, you're probably sick of hearing everybody's rules that sounded the same for the last 2 days, right? so we'll try to rush through a bunch of this. This page has my classroom rules stuff on the back. We're going to go over those here in a minute. And this page, which is an assignment page, both of these go in your binder. The things you need for this class, for next class. First thing, the homework that I'm going to assign here in a few minutes. You're going to need to have it. Number 2, a binder. On this binder, and I'll write some other things up here in a second. The binder needs to look something like this, some 3-ring binder. It could be, I used to do these. I'd pass them out to every student and just give them to you. The only bad thing about this is when you add stuff to it or take stuff out of it, it's hard to get the clips in and out and then get everything else back in it. So a 3-ring binder works out a little better because if I hand back a test or a quiz, it's easier just to be able to open it up and put it right in there where it belongs. All right. So this will be a little easier. The others will work out fine too if you wanted to do them. They're just a little more work. So you need to have that binder in the binder. This page is going to be your front page. Every time I open it up, what I highly suggest you do, once you go home tonight and you come back here on Friday, have a binder, put these 2 papers in it, right behind it, put a whole bunch of loose leaf paper. If you do that, this binder grade is going to be the easiest grade you're going to get in this class all year long. All right? Some of the gentlemen won't do it, and we'll talk about that later because Isaac knows. The young men, Isaac, aren't as organized as the young ladies, are they? So I'll explain that here in a few minutes. This is the first page. How come I'm having you put this as the first page in your binder? What's it got on it? Your name. So when you hand it in to me, am I going to know whose binder it is? Yeah. So that'll be right there in the front. Every time I collect it once in 9 weeks. Every time I collect it, I know whose binder it is. We don't have to worry about it. The second page is an assignment sheet. You can use this if you like. I'll never ever look at this again. Write your assignments on here. It just makes it easier for you probably because then you know your geometry assignments in your geometry binder. Okay? If you remember back, we used to have planners. And everybody write their assignments in their planners. Well, that doesn't work out too well because if you're in high school, where do you think your planner ends up at the end of the day? Locker. In your locker. That doesn't do you good if you're at home trying to do your geometry homework. But we don't do planners anymore, so you know, once you get your computers, if you put it on there and you carry that back and forth with you, that's great. But you can also write it down here, then you don't have to worry. It's always going to be with your binder. So get a binder. Put those 2 papers in it, put a whole bunch of loose leaf paper in it. Should be an extremely easy grade. All right? In your binder. Let's hold off on that for a second. Remind me to go back and talk about your binder and what should be in it here in a few minutes. The other packet that you got, the other papers that you got, this is your first assignment. So that's another thing I'm going to write up here. Third thing, your first assignment is the parent form. Something else you need for me next class. This is your first assignment. And your homework will be the second assignment. So both things will be due next time. What you need to do on this, have your parents fill out this front sheet, rip it off, bring just the front sheet back to me. The other 2 sheets are for your benefit. It's got stuff on it that we're going to talk about, the classroom rules, what we're going to cover this year. It's got websites for different things. It's got stuff about Moodle on it so that you know all that. You can have it at the house and you can find all that stuff. So bring back this filled out by your parents Friday. Counts as 20 points, first assignment. Going through the classroom rules very, very quickly. You can, again, continue to work on the scavenger hunt or whatever you're doing. So that would take care of that. So. Classroom rules. I'm going to go through these extremely quickly because Caleb's already told me he's sick of hearing everybody's, and mine's probably basically the same as everybody else's. You think they're different? I'm just a bigger joke, so there might be a couple extra. Be in your seat, prepared to start class when the bell rings. That doesn't mean running through the door, anything else. I probably, if you're walking through the door when the bell rings and you go sit down, like a nice young lady or gentleman, I probably won't say anything. If every day you're coming in and Isaac's coming in and he's got to walk around and mess with everybody before he actually goes to his seat, then I'm going to say, hey, Isaac, you're not in your seat, you're tardy. So, and after 3 tardies, it's a detention. Do not disturb others or their belongings, no harassing or picking on others. Hopefully you know all that, that's not a big deal. Number 4 might be a little different than some of the other teachers. Listen carefully. On number 4, bring your book and binder and any other materials every day to class. Right? When we talk about the books here in a few minutes, you will be able to get online and look at your book. You will not be able to during class. Bring your book to class. I will not allow you to use your computer as your book, because I'm not going to sit here and figure out if Miss Mueller is looking at her book online or if she's looking at some silly video on YouTube. I'm not going to try to decipher as I'm trying to teach. It gets ridiculous. All right? So bring your book every single day to class. The other thing with you guys that I will say, at some point you're going to hear, oh, we have a pep rally today. It's 4th block. All right, not today, but at some point throughout the year. Well, then everybody's going to come in here without their books. Now, if you walk through that door, bring your book, because we will do something. All right? So bring your book every day. No throwing anything during class. I mean, pencils, anything. Don't throw anything. Don't use improper language. No talking while I'm talking. I will be extremely polite to you if you're polite to me. If you're rude, obnoxious towards me, then I will be rude and obnoxious towards you. Trevor's probably going to find out here pretty soon. And then hopefully that'll take care of it. And then I'll be even ruder. Remain in your seat unless given permission. No eating, drinking, or chewing gum in class. Absolutely no eating or drinking if you put gum in your mouth. Before you walk through my door, then I probably won't say anything. If you get the gum out while you're in here to put in your mouth, it will be mine and you will not get it back. So it's all right to chew gum in here, just don't get it out. If you want to chew gum, maybe it keeps you awake because I'm sort of boring. If it keeps you awake, put it in your mouth before you get into the room, and we won't have any problems. No cell phones, iPods, etc. They explain to you that you're allowed to use the cell phones and stuff out in the hallway. I do not want to see them. Period. So if you have it hanging halfway out of your pocket, put it somewhere else. Put it in your purse, put it in your book bag, whatever you have, put it somewhere else. If I see it, I will take it. Period. Whether you're using it or not. All right? The other thing, if I see the indentation in your hoodie pocket that looks like a cell phone or an iPad or an iPod, I will ask you to give it to me. All right? So if you have it in your pocket, in your hoodie pocket, put it somewhere else. I do not want to have the discussion, Dom, I don't want to have the discussion with you that you got your hands in your hoodie pocket and they're flying all around to whether you're actually texting or not. That just wasted both our times, right? Because you know how it is. Of course, as soon as I say, give it to me, what? I don't have anything. What? Never heard a teacher do that, have you? So make sure they're put somewhere where I will not take them from you. If I take them, they'll be turned into the office. Bad thing for you guys being fourth block. Watch. Think how long it's going to take me to get your phone to the office when I take it fourth block at the end of the day.
Forever.
Oh, it's going to take you. You're going to have to spend the whole night without it because I'm not going to get it down there before you have to be gone out of the building. So, make sure that we don't have any problems with that. Any other activities that are inappropriate in a classroom setting, make sure you don't do them. All work must be turned in on time. As far as work being turned in on time, when when you are absent, if you get on Moodle, I know yours doesn't look like this from the beginning. You get on Moodle, you click on your geometry. I think you got like your 8 classes or whatever all listed there, right? You get on there, it looks like this for geometry. If you're absent, you can get right on here. Today is the 20th. What's it tell us on the 20th?
Page 9, 14 through 34, evens. Parent forms to be brought back.
It tells you what the assignment was for that day, all right? As we go on down through here, not only will it tell you what the assignment is, it'll tell you what was due that day. So you make sure that you get both of those, one that you owe to me and one that was assigned that day. So you can get right on here, do this. If you click right there, each one of these has this on it. Have you ever seen this before? Yeah, it's what we started the day with. These are the notes, or this is the PowerPoint presentation for the day. So every time if you're absent, you can get right on there and it'll show you the PowerPoint presentation for that day. If we look on down through here, if you do happen to be absent, and that's what I'm doing right now with this recording. What happened here? It shows the presentation for that day, and it goes through all the notes and everything else, and you could copy down the notes right off of here. You could watch it to see what you missed. Hopefully watching it will help you to understand what you missed so that when you come back, you're not behind. Now Lavender's thinking, well, if I missed school, it's probably because of you, Mr. Eversole, because I didn't want to be in your class. So you might be better off to get the notes and the assignment from one of your friends or something so that you don't have to hear my voice when you're sitting at home taking a day off from me. Right, Michael? Wouldn't that make sense? If you're missing my class, you're probably thinking, oh, thank God I missed Eversole's class today, right? So you might not want to do it this way, but that might be helpful. Other things on here, there's some stuff over here that your parents could use to videos and stuff down through there, explain to them how to use the website, the geometry website. Over here, it's got the grade book and stuff. I guess your guys' looks like this, doesn't it? So, I don't know. Week 1, week 2, it just shows the different weeks. If you click on week 2, then it'll pop week 2 right up there, sort of hide week 1. Right now, that's all I have open is week 1 and week 2. So if you wanted to, you could go down through here, and maybe you don't have anything else to do in intervention tomorrow. You've already got the assignment that's due Friday. What's that all about? You've already got the assignment that's due Friday. Done. Everybody see what I'm doing wrong? Maybe you've already got the assignment that's due Friday done. You could hop on here and figure out what the next assignment is and look at the notes and jump right ahead. And I was going to try to show you a little foreshadowing here to help you out, but because there's something special right here on this first set of notes, or on this one right here, but if I can't get to it. but you can get on there, get the notes, look at what's going to happen next class, what's going to be assigned. Just to tell you, because my other classes did get to see it, the first slide on this one tells you that you're going to have a quiz right at the start of class next time. So you can look at that and say, hey, I know I'm going to have that quiz as soon as I walk through the door on Friday. Some of the times you might even get on there and the quiz might be right on there, so you know what the quiz is before you ever get here. Let's see. Talk about that. Any questions up to that point? Again, back to the stuff that you need for next class. Homework that I'm going to assign here in a minute. Number 2, we'll just say the parent form. I know this is in a different order now, but it doesn't matter. 3, binder. Along with the binder, you'll need a calculator. On the calculator, I would rather it was a TI-83 or 84, those are the bigger calculators, but a TI-30, which is the ones that probably most of the teachers, if they've ever passed them out, have. Probably the ones that, were you allowed? On the OGT, you use the TI-30s. On the OATs or OAAs or whatever, is that the same one? So it's just the ones that I have are red. They're all different colors. If you buy them at Walmart or whatever, it's like $7-8 a piece. Yeah, looks just like that. Now this one, I have no idea whether it's a TI-30 or TI-34 or TI-32 or TI-33, or there's about 10 different ones that all look the same, but they're basically the same calculator. So looks something like that. That will suffice for the class. That will be plenty good enough. The bigger calculators, if you get one now, you'll for sure use it in Algebra 2 and on up through there. Makes everything a whole lot easier. The other thing on, just very quickly, on the grading. Some of you play football, maybe volleyball, whatever, cross country. Has volleyball had any real games yet?
Yeah.
They have?
Yes.
So nobody else has had any real games yet? Right now, everybody's practicing. Sort of the same idea in here. If you play football, you can't come down at the end of the year and say, man, I remember those 20 practices. I had great practices. That just made the whole season. Does anybody care? Absolutely not. What's everybody care about? The games. Same idea in here. All right? Homework is like practice. Got to do it. All right? Something that you have to do, otherwise you're not going to get any better. But it only counts as 30% of your grade. What counts the most is your test grades. All right? So you got to make sure that you're doing well on the test, study for the test. Test count is 70% of your overall grade in here. And the other thing is when we take a chapter test, it counts as a double grade. So you'll see it on your interim report twice. So when I pass out interim reports, you'll see chapter 1 test, and then right below it, it'll say chapter 1 test again, because it counts as a double grade. The reason for it counting as a double grade, that quiz that I foreshadowed to that you're going to take next class, we can't have that quiz, 2 or 3, 4 questions, whatever it is, counting the same as a chapter test. That doesn't make sense. So the chapter test counts as twice or a double grade. The quiz will count just as a single grade. But the tests are the most important thing. You've got to do well on the test. And that brings us back to the binder. When I collect the binder at the end of the 9 weeks, the binder will count as a test grade. It will count as a test grade. We're skipping over that. You might want to jot this down somewhere just for your memory. That's up to you. If you can remember it, it's not really a whole lot. But just make sure you've got it in your head or on paper somewhere. Your binder is going to have 3 sections. The first section is for notes. We're going to write some notes down here in a minute. It's not that difficult. Keep a section for your notes. If you want to separate the sections using dividers or something, I have some extra dividers laying over here. It doesn't have to be. This isn't, I'm not an art teacher or English teacher. I'm not looking for cuteness or prettiness or exactness here. All right? As long as I can tell that there's 3 separate sections in your binder, that's all I care about. So the first one is notes. That's what you write down each day while you're in here. Second one, theorems and postulates. Somebody tell me a theorem that you already know. Pythagorean's theorem. All Pythagorean's theorem is a rule. And that's all theorems and postulates are rules. All right? The other thing that sort of goes along with postulates, there's things called axioms and corollaries. We're just going to sort of group all of those in with postulates. I'm not going to explain to you what the difference between a postulate and an axiom and a corollary are. They're all basically the same thing. All right? But these are all just rules. And what we will do, somewhere in your binder you'll have a page, and you're going to put like theorem 2.1, and you're going to write it down. It's just going to be some kind of rule. That way you can flip in your binder, flip back here, and read the rule. Something like the 3 angles of a triangle add up to be, how much? 180 degrees. That's one of the theorems in this book. Another theorem says the 4 angles of a quadrilateral add up to be 360. All right? That's all it will be. And that it's like theorems and postulates are like a quick guide. Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So it's something you can look back at quick. The third thing, each time I hand back a test or a quiz, it goes in your binder as a section. So those are your 3 sections in your binder. Notes, theorems, postulates, tests, and quizzes. If it helps you to use separators or dividers to separate them, keep them separate from each other, that's great. Use them. As long as I can flip through it and tell, hey, here's the notes, here's the theorems, postulates, here's the tests and quizzes. That's all I care about. Doesn't have to be spectacular or anything. Now, back to what I need you to do with this binder. Bring in a binder, put those 2 papers in it, put the paper right, any loose leaf paper, put it right in here. What I was telling Isaac earlier about young men are more disorganized than the ladies. I guarantee when we write the notes today, and probably a lot of you will do this today, but the young ladies will fix it in between now and next class. The young men won't. We'll write the notes. A lot of you will do this. And then at the end of the 9 weeks, I say, hey, your notebooks are due next Friday. What do you spend the next week trying to do? Look and find all your notes and getting it stuck all together. And then all of a sudden, instead of this binder being an easy grade that you should get 100 on pretty easy, ends up being something that you're struggling to get a 50 or 60 on because you can't find everything. So if you put the paper in here like I'm telling you right now and just write everything right in there, it'll make everything a whole lot simpler on you. Everybody heard that, right? Because you'll hear it 3 other times this year. Because every 9 weeks when I hand back binders, and about a third of the people in this class will have gotten like a 60 or 65 on it, and I'll say, get paper, stick it in there, just write the notes directly in there. This is an easy grade. And then I'll say it for the 3rd 9 weeks and the 4th 9 weeks. 4 more times?
If not more.
Yeah, it's right here. I repeat myself a lot. So, those 3 sections, that counts as a test grade. Should be an easy grade. Not anything difficult about it. No, I forgot something, but I don't know what. Again, homework counts as 30% of your grade. Tests and quizzes all get sort of averaged together. Anybody have any questions on your binder? If you do, don't be afraid to ask whenever throughout the year. If you want to come in next week and you got your binder and say, is this what you mean? Is this how you want it set up? I won't say, no, you stooge. What's wrong with you? I'll tell you whether it's right or wrong. I won't yell at you. It's just sort of silly. All right, so make sure you got all that. What did I forget? Maybe not. All right, first set of notes. Right, think of it here in a few minutes. Points, lines, planes, undefined terms. Go ahead and copy this down. Normally, each day, I'll put the date up here on the board. One reason I put the date up here so you can write the date on your notes. And that way, if you are writing them somewhere else, you can get them back in order into your binder. Especially on this first day, since a lot of you probably didn't have the binder to start with. You'll have to know that, hey, this was the first set of notes. Watch your eyes for a second. Somebody tell me what's an undefined term? Sort of. All right. Now, most words have a definition, right? To be undefined means what?
Not have definition.
It doesn't have a definition. I'm going to write this up here. Very, very important in all math classes, but geometry especially, if I could spell. Common sense. Sort of two things that normally Caleb with teenagers and common sense, they don't really go together, right? Your folks probably told you that at some point, right? Common sense. Everything about math is common sense. It's not science class. I probably should shut the door so no science teachers hear me bragging on science. It's not science class. Where did the element barium get its name from? A scientist. His name was what? Barium. All right? Science people do that all the time. Math people do not do that. We won't see things as we go throughout the year called the Ebersol theorem, right? Pythagorean was one of the few that he put his name on something, but not on, it was just his theorem, not so much on a certain thing, right? So everything that we do in here is common sense. Undefined terms, if you talked about an undefined term in English class, it's going to be the same as it is in here. It's not any different. Anything that we talk about in here is going to have the same definition as in an English class or in a history class. So always remember that all math, a lot of common sense. So an undefined term is a term with no definition. Why is my pen not writing right? It's going crazy. So a term with no definition. In geometry, we have three terms that are the basis of all geometry that are undefined terms. Points, lines, and planes. A point. If I draw this, and you've probably done some of this in some other math classes, we call that what? Point A. All right? Point A. That's what we call it. Now, the reason a point is an undefined term, how many points did I actually draw right there?
One.
One? Everybody agree with that?
Well, yeah. No.
An infinite number, right? Because is there some other point that's right there? Some other point that's right there? Some other point that's right there? Right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, right there? All inside that point that I drew? Can I ever really show you an exact point in the world? No. Because as soon as I say, I want that exact point right there, then Hannah's saying, well, there's a point there inside it, a point there inside it. And as soon as we keep getting smaller and smaller, is there other points that are even in those points that get smaller and smaller? Yeah. So that's why it's undefined. I can't really show you a point, an exact point. So we have to use something so that we can look at it and represent it as a point. And that's what makes this undefined. A line. Back to a point real quick. When you name this right here, there is no symbol in geometry for a point. I mean, this is what you'd see in a picture right there. But if you had to write it out, you just call that point A or point B or point whatever it is. A line. What's true about a line?
Never ends.
It never ends. It goes on forever. So did I just draw a line there?
No.
No, because I'm not still drawing. I'd have to keep drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing forever and ever, right? And still, at some point, I would turn whatever my dying age is and I would keel over and Lavender would be able to say, Mr. Eversole still never drew that line, right? Because it'd have to keep going after that. So I can't give you an exact definition of a line or show you a line, but something like this is what we use to represent a line. So that's why it's considered an undefined term. Now on this line, how many points fall on a line?
Depends on how long the line is.
It does? So that line's got more than that line? It's infinite number on every one of them, right? Because there's always more and more points. Normally we show the points this way and then we give each one of them a letter. When we do that, when you name a line, this is the symbol for a line. Boy, that's ugly. It's supposed to be a little line. Let me draw it over here since my pen's not working very good. That's the symbol for a line. It goes back to the common sense thing. A line, a symbol, the symbol for a line is a little line. What do you think the symbol for a circle is? A little circle. What do you think the symbol for a triangle is? A little triangle, right? They didn't, math people don't make up some shape that looks like that and say, oh, that's the symbol for a hexagon. No, just common sense stuff. When we go to name this, we use that little symbol and we pick any two letters, any 2 points that fall on that line. So pick me 2 points on this line. AG. And we put them right there underneath. And they have to be capital letters. So this is line AG. Somebody give me another way to name that if I could ever draw my line symbol correctly. CF, I heard. Is this line different than that line? No, it's the exact same line because they both go on and on forever in both directions. Name this line another way for me. BC. Give me another one. AD. So on, so on, so on. Are there a whole bunch of ways you could name that same line? Yeah. One other way that they name a line in this book that we'll use for the first couple of chapters, then we try to get away from it, is every now and then they'll have a picture. And out here on the end, they'll put some letter. So maybe it'll look like that. Like that. So this line we would name what?
E.
It's an L.
Oh,
Supposed to
I
be
was
an
gonna
L.
say L, and then
That's,
everyone said
and that's part of the reason I don't like naming them that way. All right? Because it's confusing and it's a pain in the butt. How about this line?
Q.
Line Q. And when we write that out, we just write line Q. So either, always with two letters, not three, not four, not five, not one. If you're naming it with the capital letters, one letter, if you're naming it this way. The last thing, a plane. Normally in the book, to draw a plane, they'll draw a four-sided figure. It's sort of sloped or slanted to one side. And then in one of the corners, they'll put like some cursive letter, a capital cursive letter. A plane doesn't have a symbol. A line has a symbol. A plane doesn't. This plane, we would just write the name plane P. To name that plane, you just name it plane P. If I use this road, so if I use this road, I got Michael, I got Allison, I got Caleb, I got Dom. All of them fall in the same what? Line. So this could be, in our classroom, this could be considered a line. All right? If I'm talking about this whiteboard here, what would it be considered? A plane. A plane is a two-dimensional shape that goes on forever and ever in all directions. Now again, a plane's undefined because if I take this piece of paper right here, we normally consider a piece of paper a plane, but does it go on and on forever and ever? No, it stops. All right, we can't actually get something that goes on forever and ever. So even though we know the plane is supposed to go on forever and ever, we have to use something to represent it so it fits our world. What else in this room could be considered a plane? The walls,
Books.
the tile, the book, floor, so on and so on. I'll use the floor a lot because the floor has what on it?
Tiles. Or lines.
Lines, it's got squares, it's got
Points.
points, it's got all that stuff. So I'll use the floor a lot as a example. All right. Also the walls, stuff like that. So these are the three undefined terms that are the basis of all of geometry. Everything comes off of those things. All right, go ahead and copy these down. Maybe skip like one line. We're going to define each one of those. These terms actually have definitions. Going back to the common sense thing. What do you think collinear means? All right, so let's look at the root word. What's the root word? Close. Line. So it's probably got something to do with elephants, right? No, probably lines. What's co mean?
Two.
Two, sorta.
I mean,
Two or more, right? Because if you have co-champions, does that mean it's just two? No, it could be 3, 4, 5, however many champions share that one thing. Normally it's two, right? But it could be however many. So, two or more and line. Anybody have a guess as to what collinear means?
Two lines,
Two
two more lines.
Sorta.
are the same ones?
Let's go back to my row that I used here. What do you think's true about Michael, Allison, Caleb, and Don?
They're all in the same line.
They're all on the same line. Now what do you think
Is it
collinear
two or more
means?
points in the line?
Two or more. Can everybody read my writing? Sorry, sometimes I forget to print. Points on the same line. So collinear is just when you have two or more points that all fall on the same line. Now, let's see how smart everybody is. And I'll probably laugh at you when you get this wrong, but you will get it wrong. I got Michael here. The word non-collinear means not on the same line. Give me a person in the room that's non-collinear to Michael.
Nobody.
Nobody? Is Isaac the smartest person I have in all my geometry
You
classes?
can go diagonally, you can go horizontally.
All right, so what are you saying? When I pick Michael and one other of you guys, one other point, what's always going to be true?
We're always on the same line.
There's always some line that connects those two. So out here, again, just a non-collinear means not on the same line, but what we want here is any 2 points always make a what?
Line.
A line. So if you pick any 2 points in the world, I put some point up here, that's my point, we'll call it point A. Michael holds his fist up in the air for me. Can you do that, Michael? You hold your fist up in the air. We'll call that point B. Is there some line that would connect those 2 points? Yeah, no matter where you put it. All right? Now, what happens when I have Michael point B back here, that point A, and my point C over here? Are they collinear? Is there some line that's always going to connect those three?
Yeah. Or no, no.
Because if I do this, is it going to be a line anymore?
No.
No. All right. Now it's an angle. It's got a bend in it. All right. So 2 points always make a line. Once you get 3 points, once you have 3 points, then you have to decide. You have to decide whether those 3 points are collinear or non-collinear. Whether they're on the same line or they're not on the same line. But you have to make some kind of decision. Does that make sense to everybody? What do 3 points always make up?
Triangle.
A triangle. All right? Now, if I just pick any 3 points in the world, are they going to make a triangle?
Maybe not. Or
What?
yeah, they will. Yeah.
Yeah? What if I pick, what if I pick Michael, Allison, and Caleb? Are they going to make a triangle?
No.
No, because they are collinear. So when we're talking about a triangle, it'd be 3 non-collinear points. It's confusing, isn't it, Isaac?
Can be.
It's just so many different things that can happen. What do you think coplanar means?
2 or more planes.
Not 2 or more planes. What do we say about collinear?
2 or more points of plane.
All right. So now you got to be careful with coplanar because we talked about this 2 or more points on the same line when I'm looking at this plane. But let's even, I look at Michael's paper here. What's true about all these words?
They're all the same plane.
They're all on the same plane. Are all those words points?
Yeah. No.
No, they could be anything, right? They're like squiggles and everything else, but they're all on the same plane. So does it have to be points that are on the same plane? No, it's anything. Points, lines, rays, circles, triangles, squares, so on and so on. If I use all of you, are you all on the same plane?
Yeah.
Yeah, the plane that we consider the floor or whatever, if you're standing on it, right? You're all on the same plane. See if I can go back here. So anything or anythings on the same plane. So what do I know about these two lines right here that I'm walking down? They're what to each other?
Parallel.
That's true. Give me something less obvious, or
They're on the same.
they're on the same plane. Because we haven't talked about parallel yet, right? So these are on the same plane. What do we know about all these squares?
They're on the same plane.
They're all on the same plane. What do we know about everything that I've written on the whiteboard up here?
It's on the same.
All on the same plane. Ain't none of it sticks out or anything else, right? All on the same plane, coplanar. Let's look at this. Michael, can you hold your hand up for me again? Point A, point B, point C. Coplanar or not?
Yeah.
Sort of hard to picture, but there's some plane. There's some plane that goes through point A, point B, and down to point C there in the world. All right? There's always going to be some plane that contains any 3 points. So that's what I'm going to say here. 3 points. 2 points always make a what?
Line.
3 points make a
Triangle.
triangle's true, but it also makes a plane. 2 points make a line, 3 points always make a plane. How about 4 points? 4 points all have to be on the same plane?
Yeah. No.
Let's try it. We'll call that point B. Michael, hold your hand up again. Michael's point C now. I'm point D.
If we can plane.
Is there going to be some plane that contains those? Here,
Yeah.
let me make it easier on you. That's point D. Some plane that contains those?
Yeah.
What would you have to do to that plane? It'd have to go like all wobbly and stuff, right? Is that going to be a plane then? So 4 points, 4 or more points, then you've got to decide. You've got to decide whether they're coplanar or not. This line right here. It's coplanar to this line right next to it. Is it coplanar to that metal strip going across the ceiling? No. 2 different planes, right? So sometimes you got to decide whether things are coplanar or not. This line going straight across here. That line coming out this way, are those 2 coplanar? They actually are,
Yeah.
but if I'm asking, are they both in the plane that we consider the floor, are they both in that plane? No. So you got to be careful, all right? There is actually some plane in the world that would go through that line and come up this way, but right now, if we're talking about the floor, then no, they're not on that same plane. So, floors, walls, or planes, you're a point, there's a point down there, so on and so on. We've covered all that. What do you think space is? What is it? Anything. I'm going to use a little different word than anything. So, if I'm ever talking about space in here, I wouldn't use the floor, I wouldn't use the ceiling, I wouldn't use some point on the floor. What would I say? The whole room. The whole room is like space. All right? Space, we won't use that very often because when you're reading in your book, are they going to say, look at the picture at the left that shows space QR? Is that going to be possible? No, it's not possible. So we don't talk about space a whole lot because then they'd have to show you some 3-dimensional figure of everything. What's collinear mean again? 2 or more points on the same line. Coplanar? 3 or more points on the same plane. All right, we're gonna skip that. All right, your assignment, page 9, 14 through 34, the even numbers. Please don't forget, what else do you need next time?
Binder.
Binder,
And your papers, your,
parent form.
yeah.
Make sure you get that filled out. One other thing. Calculator. Calculator. Make sure you have all those next time.